Welcome to Vodafone. Great news. The Samsung S5 is here. Go to vodafone.co.uk for our great deals. For security, please enter your... Thanks. To check your current balance, including data... To check your current... We're just...
Thank you for calling Vodafone. You speaking to Carl? How can I help today?
Yeah, sorry, did you say Carl?
That's the one.
Right, yeah, good afternoon there, Carl. Just to let you know that from here on in that I'll be recording my call for my own personal references.
Sure.
So, okay, that's brilliant. Okay, right. The reason why I'm calling today is because I was promised to call back today at between 12 p.m. and 3 p.m. 1 p.m.
Okay, let me just capture that down. So you said that, sorry to cut your word, you said that you were promised a call back at 12?
Between 12 and 1.
12 and 1 p.m. Okay,
yeah.
Today.
Yeah. And this is probably about the 5th promise to be called back that's been not sort of like promised, or should I say?
Yeah, not actioned or delivered on.
Yeah, so I'm extremely upset now. I mean, I'm at the point now where I just really don't care anymore. But I'm gonna try and get through this, and hopefully you're gonna be the man that's gonna be able to help me out.
Yeah, that's ultimately my goal now. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. So okay, the main request is that I want to cancel my contracts with Vodafone. Now, we've got an issue with them saying that I'm going to have to pay the termination fees because one contract is quite new and the other one is only a few months old. And because of that, there's quite a bit of money still outstanding on the account for obvious reasons. But unfortunately, Vodafone have not been able to uphold their part of the contract and they've breached their contract, so therefore I decided to terminate. And I was promised by one of your work colleagues that if I faced further interruptions with my internet, that I would be able to cancel my contract without any sort of cancellation costs or anything else. Because obviously I said that, basically they'd be in breach of their contracts and he agreed with me. So he said that. And I was actually in one of your Vodafone shops at the time when talking to the guy. I passed him over to one of your colleagues in store. He also confirmed the same with the person in store. The guy in store asked the telephone operator to make sure that he puts that information into the notes on the computer, which he promised he did, but unfortunately he failed to do that. So then we had to, obviously the next day my internet got cut off again, so I went back to the Vodafone store, and with that he said that I needed to call back, so I called back Vodafone, and obviously there was no information on that call on the notes on the computer that he'd made about saying that I could cut off my contract free of charge. But obviously it was mentioned in the telephone call, so what they said they'd do is they'd do a listen back, or whatever it is, they'd listen back to the phone call, so we knew the exact time and date, so they said, okay, yep, we'll do that, and this was about 3 weeks ago now.
3 weeks ago?
Yeah, they said it takes 72 hours to to get it all sorted, and then they'll contact me.
Yeah.
So I left it up until the 18th of this month, by which time I was extremely annoyed and upset the fact that they had still failed to contact me. I mean, that was almost a week late. So then on the 18th, I contacted them again. They said, yeah, okay, we'll look into it. It'll be another 72 hours. So I was like, okay. So obviously the 18th was what, 10 days ago?
Yeah.
So again, I phoned back on Friday, which was a week later. I think it was either Friday or Saturday just gone.
Yeah.
Just think, when was it? I think it might have been Thursday actually. No, it was Friday. Sorry, yes, it was Friday. Friday the 25th. So that was obviously a week later than, that was another 4 days after they'd promised me. The lady then spoke to me and she said she was going to promise me that she was going to keep an eye on the system, and today when she was in work, she said she started at 10 o'clock or something, or 8 o'clock this morning, I can't remember, 9 a.m. She said that she'd be on the computer checking my notes. she wrote it down and she goes, she's not supposed to ring me back because she has to go to a different department because she's from the cancellations team, I think she was.
Yeah.
So she wasn't able to call me back directly from there. But she said she would go to a different department to get them to call me back between 12 and 1. And she's basically failed to do that as well. So as you can imagine now, I'm extremely upset at the fact that I've been passed from pillar to post and completely ignored. So that's basically the short-winded side of it.
Okay. It seems as if you've been through quite an ordeal, and I think the first thing that I can do, not just as, representative of a Vodafone or employee, but as somebody that, is a consumer myself, outside of my work, the experience that you had is not just not satisfactory. It seems to be, it's hard to even fathom the fact that you were promised callbacks. It's occurred 3 weeks ago. Surely if the notes are not there, it's just a case of listening to the call and we should get it resolved once and for all, because if we promise something, we should live up to that promise.
Exactly. It was a broken promise that I was told I had to ask for, because I wanted to cancel my contract because I'd had enough, basically. I didn't like the way I was being treated by Vodafone. And then since that, they've just treated me absolutely disgustingly. They've treated me even worse than they did before. They're not calling me back. They're cutting off my calls. The person that I spoke to just before you refused to talk to me because I informed him that I was recording the call, which I'm quite within my right to do. So he point blank refused to talk to me. He was on the phone for about 12 minutes, and in the end he hung up. Because he asked me to stop recording. I said, well, no, because it's my right to record my calls. I said, it's for my own references. I said, I can't use them in a court of law or anything because they wouldn't be legal. I said, it's only for my own personal reference, because if I'm having issues with somebody, then I want to revert back. Because I've called you so many times, it makes it easier for me to make a note of my calls.
To retrace your steps, so to speak.
Yeah, and then I know exactly what I've said, and I know exactly what you guys have said. So, I mean, I have got a call recording of the guy that promised that other thing, but obviously, like I said, I can't use that. So they only have to revert back to the call that I made with Vodafone so they can listen to it themselves. Now, I've been waiting I think it's over 3 weeks probably, but I've been waiting at least 3 weeks for this to be resolved. All I want to do is cancel my contracts without charge and be done with it. That's all I want to do.
Okay.
So every time I get put through to the cancellations team, they keep telling me that I've got to pay £1,100 and some pounds. I'm like, no, because I can cancel it free of charge. And they're like, well, and then they look through the notes and they go, no, because we've made you an offer. And I said, well, I've refused the offer. They offered me 1 month's free line rental for both phones, and they offered to put me up to the 10 gigabyte data, which I'd already been promised to be put on anyway. This is where all the problems arose, because I was supposed to have been on 10 gigabytes of data a month, but for some reason I was still on, I think it was 6. So every time I'd gone over my 6 gigabytes, and every single day I was getting disconnected, and I was having to ring up and waiting several hours for the internet to get turned back on again. So, it's just really annoying that nobody actually bothered to actually find out what was going on. It wasn't until I'd spoken to somebody else, after I'd already decided that I wanted to cancel my contract, it wasn't until I actually spoke to somebody else that he explained what had happened. And the fact of the matter was that Vodafone had proper screwed up because they'd left me on the 6, I think it was either 6 or 8 gigabytes, and not put me onto the 10. And every time I phoned up, people were saying to me, oh, you've only got 6 gigabytes of data, you haven't got 10. And I was saying, no, I've got 10 gigabytes of data. But he managed to find the notes that said, yes, we're going to put the customer up to 10 gigabytes on that date. So if a customer gets told, just say on the 2nd of July, the customer gets told that their internet usage for the rest of that month and for every month after that is 10 gigabytes, then that customer would expect to be receiving 10 gigabytes. If he keeps getting disconnected every single day when he's at about 6 gigabytes, then that customer would obviously like to know why. And if nobody tells him why, then the customer's not going to know. And then if the customer goes through that for 2 weeks of being disconnected every day, and the customer turns around and says, right, well, I want to get disconnected, and then one of your staff say, yes, we'll disconnect you if it happens again free of charge without any cost to yourself and whatever, then you'd expect Vodafone to uphold that. But they're point blank refusing to do it because it's such a large amount of money. But at the end of the day, I'm within my right to do it because I've been promised it, and also they've breached the contract because they failed to, give me the service that I'm paying for. So, in 2 instances, Vodafone have messed up really, because one, they've not kept their end of the bargain, and two, they're not upholding this guy's promise of letting me cancel my contract without charge.
Yeah. And you know what, Mr. Lowe, you know what, I can extend my honest, apologies and so forth, in terms of the experience and so forth, that you've been through. But, for me, I feel that that's not enough. What you ultimately need and are entitled to is action. And you know what? Finally, you need to. Hopefully, this would be the last call that you ever make regarding this issue, because just from hearing what you've been through and so forth, and the fact that you're still speaking in terms of a good tone, you're not screaming down the phone. You're taking the time to explain.
I haven't got any energy, to be honest.
Yeah, and you've probably explained this issue a couple times, and I would like to thank you for at least doing it in a diplomatic way, and I feel that that's me even more determination to resolve the query as quickly and as painlessly as possible. So you know what? I think what we can do is ultimately I want to try and get the action taken, because you've been apologized to, you've possibly even been told that you've been promised callbacks, but it hasn't been delivered upon. I'm not going to promise you anything. All I can promise you, I will try my utmost to get this resolved once and for all. So to get the ball rolling here, could I have your full name if possible?
Yeah, James Stephen Lowe.
Thanks for that, Mr. Lowe. And I take it the number in question is the number that you're calling from.
It is, yeah.
Perfect. And I assume, of course, that you are the account holder.
Yep.
And I know you've been through this a million times, but I just need to confirm the first and the last digit of your 4-digit PIN code.
Yeah, 1 and 5.
1 and 5. Okay. So now we got the tedious stuff out of the way. Let's tackle the real issue here. So you've got two lines, as you've mentioned. So the line that you're calling from, the one that ends in 576. I'm just going to take a look. Is this the one that's in contract? This one expires on the 19th of the 1st, 2016. So this is the one with the early termination fee and the massive charge.
Well, it's both of them. I want to cancel both of them, because the second phone is it's an extension of this one, basically, so I get to use all my data and stuff from this account on that account.
Okay.
Is it Vodafone Share or something it's called?
Yeah.
But I told them that I don't want to be with Vodafone. I don't want to be with a company that treats their customers like this. So I don't want 1 or 2 or 3. Even if they offered me a year's free contract, I'd still turn it down, because it's just, I don't want it.
Not a problem. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to calculate the total amount again here. So I have it as a point of reference, because I've tried everything you've informed me. I've typed a detailed note already. I mean, it's probably about 15 lines long. So you know what? Because it's not just enough for me now to listen to your query, see what I can do about it. Because so much has transpired, I want to capture everything on my side in terms of a point of reference as well. So I want to be as thorough as possible, because it seems as if people previously haven't been as thorough as we would expect, and I'm going to look to change that today. So let's have a look here. So first things first, number ends in 576. The termination fee on that one, as the system informs me, is, let's have a quick look here, it's £550 and 59 pence at this moment in time. So that one. Okay, and then the other one. Calculate that. Sorry about the fact that, it's taken a while for me to gather all this information, but I would rather gather the information and get it right the first time.
All right, can you just bear with me for 1 second, please?
Yeah, sure. I'll hold the line. I'll do some work on my side. No,
all right, just bear with me 1 second. Sorry. Sorry about that, boss.
No, not to worry, not to worry. I used that time to actually look at the notes. So the previous call that was on the 25th, it says here that you raised a call listening or request to listen to the previous call on the 18th of July.
Yeah.
Okay. And of course, subsequently, you haven't received any feedback for that. So on the 21st, the date that you called in, this advisor stated that they've raised with the powers that be, and the service level or the time scale would be 24 to 48 hours. And I think that time's long gone, in my book. And let me just have a quick look through the other notes as well. And you know what, Mr. Lowe, I really don't understand this, because I myself, I'm an employer of Vodafone, and I can assure you it's not the way we do business. I mean, Vodafone wouldn't have grown to this huge company if this was standard procedure in terms of not fulfilling promises and just leaving customers with a bad service. So I'm not making an excuse, but it's a fact. I mean, because of a few, you've had a bad experience, and that's not in anybody's book. So
no, well, Vodafone's one of the oldest communication companies in the UK. They were the first mobile network in the UK in the 70s, I think it was, 1970s.
Yeah. So, I can assure you our business practice is totally different to the experience that you've been on the receiving end of, and I'm going to show you that today. So I'm looking through some of the notes here on my side. Let me have a quick look here for you. And you said that can you advise me as to round about which dates or the incident took place? You said it was around about 3 weeks ago. Would it still be in the month of July or to the back end of June where you had that call?
If you look at the notes on the system, you'll see some store notes, which is entered in on a Saturday. So let me look at the calendar. So it would have either been the 19th or the 12th. I should imagine it would have been the 12th. There were some store notes on the 12th or 13th. The call in question, where he promised me I'd be able to cancel the contract, was on the 12th.
Okay. Let's just jump to the 12th.
And we asked him to write on the notes. I asked him, and also the colleague in store asked him.
Okay. Okay. And while I'm looking for the date of the 12th, I should find it in a second. Could you, Mr. Lowe, if kindly just shed some more light on the issue in terms of your data and the service and so forth, as to what's actually happened with regards to that?
Well, basically, I was in hospital, and the first thing that was happening was I had no network coverage, and I phoned up, and they said to me that a mast was being repaired in the area. This was when I was in Gloucester Hospital.
Okay.
I was waiting to have an emergency operation on my kidney, because I had quite a bad kidney. So anyway, they then moved me to Cheltenham Hospital, which is about 18 miles away. And while I was there, I was also still experiencing network issues on both phones, should I add. So when I phoned them there, they said, oh yeah, there's another 2 masts in Cheltenham that have been upgraded or repaired. And I was like, it was a bit coincidental that every time you phone up, they always say it's to do with the mast being repaired or maintained. So it's like, okay, I'll leave it at that. So anyway, I left it at that, and then it sort of like fixed itself. But during that time, they offered to give me some free data, because I was going to be using a lot of data in the hospital.
Yeah, I mean, you're in a hospital bed and recovering,
and there's no TVs or anything in the ward, so I was wanting to watch TV on my phone and that. I said, is there any way that I could upgrade it or anything like that? And they said, oh, well, I'll tell you what we can do. Because you took out another contract with us, we'll put you up to 10 gigabytes free of charge. I said, okay, brilliant. So she wrote that on the notes, and she promised that. And then I was watching my TV and stuff, and obviously using up quite a bit of data in doing so. And then that's when the issues started. I'd got to my 6 gigabyte mark, which was my original amount. And then phoned up and said, oh, my internet's gone off, can you sort it out, please? I was like, oh, you've used up all your data. I'm like, well, no, because I've got 10 gigabytes. And he says, no, you've only got 6. And this is where then the issue started with me trying to explain to them that I had 10 gigabytes of data. And then it just went on from there, and it just snowballed out of control. And it got to the point, being cut off every single day, that I decided to go into the Vodafone store and ring from there. And I wanted to get one of the colleagues to actually hear the guy on the other end.
Yeah.
His response to me asking them if I can cancel my contract without any charges. Because if I had at least proof then, at least I had some proof, which is a good job I did really, because, the guy in store wrote the notes on the computer saying that the guy that I'd just spoken to hadn't actually in fact written the notes that he promised to write.
Yeah.
So.
I hope the recovery's gone well. I mean, first and foremost.
Yeah, well, I've got infection.
And I can sorry to hear. I can understand, the reasons. I mean, I, broke my arm once, and it was a couple of days recovery in hospital. And I mean, it was probably the worst time because you're alone. There's no family or friends, and it's just
family. You can only visit for like 3 hours a day. It's ridiculous.
Exactly. So spending. I'm not too sure how long a period you spent there. Using your mobile and just trying to pass the time. You know what? It's understandable, and the fact that you use so much data. It was expected.
And do you know what really peed me off the most though? What really upset me, right? Yeah. My other phone, the SIM card, decided to break down. Now obviously I couldn't leave the hospital because I was connected up to machines and stuff, and I was on like special medicated drips. Now I couldn't leave the hospital, so I phoned up Vodafone, and I had my girlfriend added onto my account so that she was able to go into the store for me and do it.
Sure.
So she went down into the store. She got a bus down into the store, which was like, it's about 5 miles, I think it was, from the hospital. So she gets to the store, she goes in, and the lady didn't even bother to go onto the computer system to see if my girlfriend was eligible to collect a SIM card for me. She just point blank refused to help her out. So my girlfriend came back a bit bewildered. She said, so I got really peed off about it, so I disconnected myself from the machines. And basically, I had this bag of medication. I can't remember what it was now. It was some sort of fluid in the bag. You know what they put into your drip in your arm? So I put that into a carrier bag, and I walked out of the hospital with my coat on, with all this stuff still attached to me, with a drip in my arm and stuff like that. I got a taxi, went down to the bloody Vodafone store, played up hell with him, and all he could do was apologise because the manager looked on the computer. And I even got him out of a meeting because I said, look, I've got an operation later on this afternoon. I said, I'm not even supposed to be out of the hospital because I could catch an infection, which I inadvertently have, but that's not related. But anyway, so he apologised, and so and he asked the staff member why she refused, and she goes, because she didn't pass the security check. I said, well, what security check did you check? Did you check if she was on the system? She goes, no. I said, so how did she pass the security check? Didn't pass.
Exactly.
How can she not pass a security check if you don't do the security check? And the manager was just like apologetic and then whatever. And I said, well, what am I supposed to do now? I says, because now I've got almost bloody 15 quid worth of taxi costs. I said, I would like a refund for them. He said, well, we can't give you it in store. I said, well, I'll be going nuts then because I've just had to spend 15 quid of money that I can't afford to spend on a taxi that I shouldn't have had to go in the first place. So, but I think they put like £12 something. They could put it onto my account or something, so it gets knocked off my bill. So, but I've had so many people saying to me, oh, we'll give you £10 off here, or £12 off there, or £15 off here, but, I don't want that. I just want to cancel my contract. I don't want money.
Yeah.
That's why I turned down the offer of 1 month free line rental with the, what was it, to put me, and also put me up to 10 gig. I don't want it. I just want to cancel the contract.
Of course. And you know what? I wouldn't begrudge you that. It's a case of, getting things right. We're not going to end up on the best terms, but you know what? I feel at least that we owe you just to make things right, if we can restore a little bit of faith, if any. But what I need to do here, Mr. Lowe, is I found a call, the date 12/7. Okay, it says here, customer spoke over the phone in store. The last customer service advisor that you spoke to confirmed that you'll be able to cancel the contract without penalty if his data was cut off. Customer agreed that the data will not be cut off. And, okay. And it's a free cancellation. So this one points to a previous call. Okay. But let me take a quick look at this because this is the only, on the 12th, this is the only store note that's left. So I think this is the one that we speak of. So would you mind holding? I'll see what
I was going to ask you a favour. Is it possible that you could call me back? Because my phone's just about to switch itself off because I need to put it in charge, but my charger's over the other side of the room.
Okay, sure. I can give you a ring back. Would you want me to give you a ring back in the next, I would say, 2 to 3 minutes?
Yeah, that's cool. That'll give me a chance.
Okay, not a problem. You hear from me soon. And I can give you a ring back on the number that ends in 576, correct?
Yeah, this number that you're calling me from now, yeah.
Great stuff. Thank you so much. You'll hear from me soon, guaranteed.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Bye.